Alright, so this is my first video in a long time, but I found a subject I would like to cover. Mainly, there is a big ruckus in society today about feeling safe, and people believe that they have an entitlement to feel safe, and other people believe you don't have an entitlement to feel safe, and I believe there is a compromise that is more than capable of being had that people don't want to accept, because with compromise comes just that, compromise on both ends. Now, for those people who believe that you're not entitled to feel safe, you're saying this to people who have a great concern, given events at hand, that their interests and their beliefs and their rights as citizens of this country are at risk. And you can't just tell them to suck that up. That's not reasonable. All that's going to do is send them into a panic more that that's one less person that cares about them. Now, on the other side, there are many people who need to accept that while there are answers to be gleaned and resolutions to be issued out, they're not going to be 100% exclusively on your terms. Now, on the note of feeling safe, I feel I should give a very important distinction between feeling safe and being safe. Now, I'd like to point out the critical feature of those two words, feeling, as in subjective interpretation of a situation that gives you a certain emotional status, as opposed to being. Now, being is arguably a very objective term to which you are what you are, and it's not really subject to interpretation. Otherwise, it would be you feel like or you perceive to be. To be is a very absolute statement, and that's a thing that a lot of the lack of compromise is coming from. People want to feel safe, they don't want to be safe. And I'm going to go into detail right now. To feel safe means you are entitled to do whatever is within your means and your right to accommodate your emotional status so that you feel secure on your terms to your satisfaction. As much as that may seem noble and something you are entitled to, I promise you that if you were to step back and look at all of the instances where you were forced to do something in society, such as some people were thrown out of their parents' house and had to get a job so they could pay rent at a new place, or they had to not buy that new video game console so that they could pay off their car, and had they, and this isn't about feeling safe, but this is an instance where had you been left to your own devices, would you have made the right decision? And so, just like every other aspect of life, if you are going to leave to your own devices to feel safe, are you really going to set expectations that are not going to be as low impact as you can possibly arrange? There's a reason why there's a reason why so few people look like bodybuilders or athletes, and that's because that requires a lot of work. If you want to feel safe all the time, then the layman is going to minimize the amount of risk they're going to put themselves at. And that doesn't just come at risk that is utterly dangerous. That's going to come at any risk that would also be a potential learning experience or a potential for growth. And no human being has the foresight to tell which is which with anywhere close to even a 50% rate of accuracy. So you have, at best, with the wisest of discretion, a 50% chance of losing half of all of your opportunities in life because you will state what is safe on your terms. To be safe means that you embrace that there is an objective expectation of what harm can reasonably come to you under the circumstances you are in. And to accept that you are safe doesn't mean that you are safe from everything. It just means you are safe from what is reasonably expected to happen to you given the circumstances. And that doesn't mean that things beyond what is reasonably expected won't happen, but they're called reasonably expected for a reason. because the odds are many bad things won't happen to you. Now, those bad things happen to people all the time, but most of us don't live those lives. Most of us don't have those circumstances, and when we do, most of us who experience them find we have a surprisingly greater amount of support at our disposal than we initially give ourselves credit for. So to be safe means you have a realistic expectation that your life is going to flow relatively smoothly, or at least as smoothly as it has been going, without a feasible reason to believe that it's going to change for the worse. So when you want to feel safe, you need to look at it in a literal context. You literally want to gratify your emotional sense of security, or do you want to be safe given the circumstances at hand? This is a very controversial time in our nation's history. This is a point in our history where we do not know what is going to happen next, because a lot of unique and unforeseen and unprecedented things are happening. Now, does that mean they're good? Maybe. Does that mean they're bad? Maybe. Does that mean that X, Y, or Z is going to happen? We don't know. But what we do know is what is here and what is now. You will do nothing but do yourself ill if you are going to expect the worst without a productive means of combating it. You will do nothing but stress yourself into hysteria if you are going to look at worst case scenario, or even look at a bad thing of lesser than that status, and expect to come up with a solution. You need to come up with a solution, and the best way to start is to set realistic expectations of what can happen to you in your day-to-day existence. Regardless of what's happening in politics, regardless of what's happening in the government, regardless of what's happening in the next state over, what is the viable odds that your day-to-day life is going to change? And at that point, once you establish that, you have established what it means to be safe. Not what it means to be safe from everything, what it means to be safe from the realistic expectations of your day-to-day existence. If you need to feel more secure than that, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but you have expectations of the existence around you beyond what existence itself can accommodate. And demanding further compensation and accommodation for such emotional gratification is only going to put you at odds with people who believe you are perfectly capable of coping with less than that accommodation. That's reality for those who have disagreed with the right to feel safe. That's just my 2 cents. I hope you guys found this video informative. If you like it, please subscribe. This is All American Logic. Hopefully back on for some more recent stuff. Have a good night.